Hey, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Rev Rx podcast. I'm so thankful that you're here, and I'm so excited for you to meet my special guest today, Dr. Tiffany Ruder, PharmD, fellow pharmacist. Welcome to the show, Tiffany. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, we've been social media friends for a while, and I
Yes.
really like the space that you're in, and I'm excited to bring that to my listeners today. Here at the Rev Rx podcast, we like to have conversations on what matters most. Our conversations typically kind of revolve around faith, family, and health. And today we're going to kind of bring all those together, but we're going to talk about it from a different perspective, maybe than we're used to on here, because I think sometimes the conversations that matter the most are uncomfortable. And we're going to talk about some things that may be uncomfortable for some of us to hear, but are so vital and so important to us thriving in our world today, particularly when it involves our relationships. And so today we're going to be kind of centering in on marriage relationships, maybe even dating relationships, but really it applies across the board. We're going to talk about something that we haven't had before. So this is unique. And Tiffany, I'm excited about this. We're going to talk about women's health. You may be thinking, well, Chad, like, seriously, you're going to talk about women's health? No, that's why Tiffany's here. But what we're going to learn today is that women's health is not just a women's issue. It's a men's issue too. Because all of us men have important ladies in our lives, whether that be our wife, whether that be our kids or our mom or whoever that is. And here's the thing. A lot of relationships struggle not because they lack love, but because they lack understanding. And what we aim to do in this conversation today is to bring understanding, to bring clarity about women's health, about some of the things that go on in a woman's body. Because let's face it, men aren't taught that. And a lot of times in our relationships with our significant others, we're like, what's going on with them? And we just don't know. And even women, a lot of times, Tiffany, I think you can speak to this. Women aren't taught necessarily how their bodies work either.
Right.
To the effect of what we're going to talk about today. So something here for everybody. Don't tune out if you're a man and this is women's health. Oh, that's not me. Yes, it is. And also a little disclaimer too. We're going to talk about hormones, intimacy, the realities of marriage. And so if you've got little ears listening, you might want to save this one for later. But with that said, Tiffany, what a pleasure it is to have you here. Welcome to the show and tell us a little bit about you. We'd like to get to know you a little better first.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. The wonderful introduction. I'm a pharmacist and a perimenopause specialist, and I own my own company, Better Health and Hormone Balance, where I get to work with women one-on-one, really to optimize, use holistic therapies to help them kind of through that transition of perimenopause into menopause, because it is kind of a crazy time with a lot of misinformation, not a lot of guidance, and just really not a whole lot of support in that area. My story starts with my own personal situation. It was post-COVID, post having two babies, post getting off of birth control, and I was just not in a very good place. Like, I knew something was wrong. I was exhausted. I had no energy. I had brain fog. I would really just kind of wake up and start counting down the hours until I could go back to bed. Like, I was just not me. And I'm a bubbly, outgoing, energetic kind of person. And that was gone. And I knew something was wrong. So like most people, we go see our doctor. So I went to go see, I thought it was a hormone issue. So I went to go see my OB-GYN to kind of discuss the situation. She told me my labs were normal. She handed me a prescription for an antidepressant and said she would see me in 6 months. So I felt extremely dismissed. I felt unheard, unseen. And I really, deep down, I just knew it wasn't like a depression issue. I felt really that there was still something going on below the surface, and it wasn't depression, it was depletion. So I was just kind of in a weird burnout phase physically from having two babies so close together, from being on birth control for so many years that I was on it, nutritionally, hormonally, everything was just depleted. And that was that was showing up in all the symptoms I was dealing with.
Yeah.
That was when it was like a light bulb moment, and really what I felt like a calling from God, that it is not just you that's going through this. There are so many women out there that are constantly getting dismissed, constantly being gaslit into thinking that their symptoms are normal, that hashtag mom life, it's okay to be exhausted, it's okay to feel terrible, it's okay, as if like we are supposed to not feel our best every day. We have somehow normalized that.
Yeah.
And that's when I just realized, so through my own journey of health, and I became a certified hormone replacement therapy specialist, learned all about my body, learned all about my cycle, how to use my cycle as a superpower, and then also how to help other women through that, because perimenopause is a time of wild hormone fluctuations. So things start to become really unsteady. And that's kind of where I really felt a calling to help them through that, to give them words to what they're feeling, because there's a lot of times we just don't even know how to describe it, explain it. And then also give them practical strategies and tools that they can start implementing so they can feel their best every day, not feel depleted the way that I was.
That's so good. And I talk to people a lot that have the same basic story. I dealt with this. I realized I wasn't the only one that dealt with this. I realized the answers aren't really out there. And so I want to
Yeah.
help other people that were dealing with what I'm dealing with. And so I appreciate that. And that gives just so much credibility to your story, because you didn't read about something in a textbook and decided to just be the expert on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
You really felt it. And,
Yeah.
you have fixed you, and now you're fixing others. And I love that. And a lot of the quote unquote fixing, as I'm calling it, is understanding.
Yes.
And that's one of the things I love, because here's the thing. The more we understand each other, the better we can love each other.
Yes.
And particularly within a marriage construct, but not necessarily only in that.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we love each other, especially, in the home, the better our homes are.
Yeah.
And there are so many people out there that are struggling. They're just thinking, okay, I'm not feeling right, but all my labs are, quote, normal.
Right.
And no one really knows what to do for me, but I know this isn't normal.
Right.
How can I find help? And you're bringing hope to so many women through what you're doing. So thanks for the space you're in and for using your expertise to come alongside others.
Thank you.
And so getting into a little bit about what you uncovered, and that's where I want to kind of go with this episode, if that's okay with you. I love the phrase you use, and I see it on social media, using your cycle as your superpower.
Mm-hmm.
And that gets my attention because I'm like, so many people have misunderstandings. There's misinformation out there. There's a lack of information out there.
Right.
What is your thought about the superpower of the menstrual cycle?
Yes.
How did you come up with that? And really, what does that mean?
So a lot of it was me implementing it for myself.
Yeah.
Understanding the phases of the cycle, understanding what hormones are at play during each phase, and then recognizing and honoring. To be quite honest, I am just not the same woman week to week. And I'm really not the same woman day to day. And being able to love and accept myself in all the phases of my cycle, and working with my hormones, not against them, like working with what God has beautifully and wonderfully made me and blessed me with as a woman, being able to utilize that in a way that is actually to my advantage, as opposed to something that needs to be medicated out, numbed out. It's a disadvantage. So I guess we can dive into the phases of the cycle, kind of what's going on between each phase. I think this is a great basic understanding.
Yeah.
And then we can also, go ahead.
But before we jump in, though, let me highlight what you just said. Super, super important. Okay, this is where we're bringing in our faith, right?
Yeah.
You were made beautifully. You were made on purpose for a purpose.
Yes.
And I'm saying that to every listener out there.
Yes.
So many times we feel like the way we were made is a handicap.
Yeah.
And so realizing that, okay, God didn't make me this way on accident. He made most every woman out there is dealing with the same things. And a lot of times you're told that kind of cripples you, or you're like, man, I've got to deal with this again.
Right.
Realizing that's how God made you, and really connecting with that. I love that concept. I just wanted to, before we jump into that, highlight how important that is to see, you were made in the image of God. You were made on purpose. God has a plan for your life, and the hormones are part of that.
Yes.
And
they are. Yes.
And that can be your superpower. So anyway.
It can absolutely be your superpower. I think at a very young age, sometimes, especially for women, as we start going through puberty and start having regular cycles, there gets to be a point in time where things feel unregulated or unpredictable. And it is very easy to get some Band-Aid fixes like, oh, just get on birth control, or they'll say, well, you better not be cycling because it's going to get in the way of this or that, right? So whatever goals you have, whether that's a corporate situation, whether it's life, whatever like career goals you might have, at some point, society almost told us this is an impediment to success. And it almost taught us to become disconnected from our body. So that's when we start thinking like, God, why was I, or like really, truly, God, why did you make me a woman? Right. Like we start thinking like, I wish I was a man, or like things would be easier. And it wasn't until I reconnected with my body and recognized that the cycle he gave me, the hormones he gave me, the way my body is beautifully and wonderfully and intricately made, that is his design. And especially for his design as women and the child bearers, like we get to be the ones that continue on generations.
Yeah.
We get to do that. And we should really recognize and honor how special of a gift that is. And instead of trying to disconnect from it, we should really try and reconnect to it as a way of also just honoring God with our body.
That's so good.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
like just want to like it's a beautiful way to just kind of come back to you and come back to your faith of knowing that there's a reason and a purpose for the way that we are.
You bring life into this world.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
that's
yes.
I remember when my
It's
wife
not
was
an easy feat.
no, I remember when my wife was pregnant, she'd be, she's, I'm sorry, I'm this, whatever way she was being.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're growing a human in you. Like
Yes.
you can be this way.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
so true. And even as a man, I'm hanging on. I see that in our culture,
Yeah.
and I see that in our society. And this whole, that's a different conversation for a different day. But I love that you're connecting people to how you were made, and that wasn't on accident. So
Yeah.
I want to also kind of set the scene a little bit too, because what we aim for here is maybe this can be a resource for, hey, if you're a wife out there, maybe this can be a resource for you and your husband to get together and talk about these things.
Yes.
Because
for
a lot of the conversations that matter the most are uncomfortable. Maybe
Yeah.
they're awkward. And so maybe we can start this way, Tiffany. Why is it so awkward for husbands and wives to talk about this?
Sure. I think from the female perspective and from the perspective of the clients that I work with, I think so much shifts and so much happens. And because we have been disconnected from our body, we don't always have the words to put to what's going on. In general, I would say men really like things that are kind of like direct, right? Like you guys are like, you want the facts, right? You want the data. You kind of want, just the facts, man. And sometimes it's hard because it's such an emotional response too, right? Things are shifting, things are changing, especially in perimenopause. Your body is changing in ways that you're not exactly thrilled about. So you're gaining weight, even though you're not changing anything. You have brain fog and you can barely drive your kids to school in the morning because you're in such a fog and you're just kind of hoping that everything turns out okay. You're worried at your job because you can't perform the way you used to because you don't have the same energy and the same stamina. So much is shifting and changing in a very short amount of time that I think it's really hard, especially for women, that sometimes we often think, what is wrong with me? As if we did something wrong,
Right.
as if somehow we caused the problem, quote unquote problem, even though it's not. It's just our design of getting older and the aging process. And I think sometimes it's harder for us. I think with that, then we start feeling a shame around it. So we almost feel like we did something wrong, that something's wrong with us. And then sometimes it can start feeling like a weird shame or guilt. And then it's something like, oh, I don't want to talk about that because it's vulnerable, because you don't really have the words to describe it. And it's tough because I think in general, again, because of societal pressures and the things that we see on Instagram and all these things where everyone has this beautiful, perfect life, we kind of think like, oh, I'm fine. It's fine. I just put on a happy face and everything's fine. Like everything will be just fine. And then that makes that divide even deeper with your spouse because now you're putting on this front that things are fine when they're not. And that communication becomes less and less. And so I could understand from a female standpoint, it can be very challenging. But I also know that the man I married is the man that is with me for like sickness and health.
Yeah.
Death do us part. He loves me for me the way that I am. Why would he not love me through this?
Yeah. And from the male perspective, let me just say it this way. A lot of times we have egos and we're not going to talk about something we don't understand.
Right.
And we don't understand that. We don't understand women's hormones. We don't understand the cycles.
Right.
We blame things on that, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
As a society, I think. But even within our marriages, we're like, oh, she's just, it's her time of the month. I remember hearing that a good bit. And so we don't understand it. So we just kind of feel like we check out.
Yeah, for sure.
We have nothing to add to that. And also there's just, that's you and that's not me. And you've got a lot more experience dealing with a woman's body than I do. And so, you can understand it better than me. And I don't really think I can add anything. So we're just going to avoid talking about it.
Right.
And I think there's shame on our end too, because we are fixers. Whenever we hear a problem, we want to fix it. And I don't know how to fix that. And I'm not sure I can, and I'm not even sure it can be fixed, and I'm not sure it needs to be fixed. But I think there are some barriers to that. Maybe through this episode today, through the clarity, and we're going to give words to some of those things today.
Yes. Yes.
I think through that, maybe we can love one another better, and our homes
Yeah.
will get better because of that. That's our goal. And I just kind
Yeah,
of want to
for sure.
address that off the bat. Hey,
Yeah.
that's the goal of what we're talking about here. This isn't going to be super clinical. This is
Yeah.
going to be
No, no,
super
no.
practical. And with
Yeah.
every phase, hey, it gives a lady a chance to explain in words what's going on, and it gives a man
Right.
an opportunity to say, "Hey, here's how I can support her best in this
Yeah.
phase."
Yeah. And that's my ultimate goal, is to give language and opportunity to both parties. So both
Yeah,
female and male, as we go through, probably just starting with the phases of the cycle, just
yeah,
so we kind of understand what really was God's design
yeah. That's
when it
good.
comes to the phases of the cycle. Like what's that all about? And then kind of how we can come together as man and woman through each phase, because there are a lot of things that happen. Even though we are talking about quote unquote sex hormones that are important for reproduction, keep in mind that we have hormone or receptors for these hormones all over our body. So receptors are like little locks and the hormones are the keys. So we have these little locks all over our body. And when those keys fit into that lock, different things can happen. So mental clarity happens, or we have more energy or motivation, or now we start producing more dopamine. So like it will affect all of our body processes. This is not just about reproduction or just about sex organs. It is about the body as a whole. So I just
Yeah.
really want to kind of keep that in mind, because that will kind of explain why we have different actions and different behaviors throughout the month. So to start, phase one of the cycle is really the start of menstruation. So that is day one of your cycle, is the day one of your period. And that lasts somewhere between 5 to roughly 7 days. At this point, your hormones are very low. So we're going to talk about three main ones: progesterone, estradiol, and testosterone. All three of those hormones are fairly low, not surprising. You as a female feel pretty low. Your body is literally shedding the uterine lining, which is physically demanding. So it does take a lot of energy, a lot of resources. So things like iron, you're losing fluid. So electrolyte loss is happening. There are some things that are physically occurring that can cause us also physically to not feel well. So you might
Hmm.
have cramping, all sorts of, you might be a little bit more emotional because those hormones aren't there to help stabilize the emotions like you normally could. And then that's also sometimes those cravings start to kick in. You need magnesium for muscle contraction. Dark chocolate is very rich in magnesium. The body sometimes will start seeking out things like that. So also you are losing iron. So it would be really ideal if you start eating maybe some more red meat during that time, because again, it's just about replenishing and keeping the body nourished and loved. As far as the female perspective, so we're probably low energy. It's harder for us to handle tasks. Sometimes it is physically harder for us to stand up and cook a huge meal. It is going to be physically harder for us to entertain a group of 50 guests at Thanksgiving, because we don't feel our best and we don't have any hormones to speak of, so to speak, in our favor to help us with energy, to help us with mental clarity, to help us with some of those tasks. As far as the man's role, I would love it if my men show up as the protector. You are protecting my peace, you are protecting my schedule, and you are really going to be the one that shows up as the leader of the house, which you are. I mean, I love the fact that my husband is the head of the house and he's the leader that is taking care of us. That is how you show up for me during that week, and for women in general. Show up as the protector of the schedule, of the peace, because that really gives us then the energy and the space to go through this physically demanding process when we don't really have hormones in our favor.
And I haven't really thought about that too much. I mean, obviously, I don't.
Well, thought.
You guys think about it once a month, but I mean, all the different things that go into that.
Yeah.
You're talking about electrolyte loss. You're talking
Mhm.
about all of these things, and the minerals and the vitamins and
Yeah.
all the depletion that happens. And I
Yeah.
think that's a good key word to remember. There is
Yeah.
depletion.
Yes.
Because I mean, you don't have the hormones you need for stability. I think that's a
Right.
really key part. And so thinking about it, like, all right, I don't have the keys that I need to
Right.
unlock those
Right.
doors
Exactly.
for me to be all I can be.
Exactly.
And so as a man, like, realizing, okay, there's a thing called emotional awareness.
Yes.
And we won't go into that here, maybe a different conversation.
Another podcast.
Yeah. But there's a thing called emotional awareness, and realizing, okay, where you are. One of my
Yeah.
guests described it this way: if I'm green, everything's great. It's like a
Mm.
like a traffic light. If I'm green, everything's great. If I'm yellow, okay, I'm kind of depleted. I'm gonna use that word on purpose.
Yeah.
I'm kind of depleted, and I could go either way. So I might need to invest in me a little bit. I might need
Mhm.
some rest. I might need a little
Mhm.
protection to
Yes.
kind of help me get back to green. because you
Right.
know what, if I'm bombarded when I walk in, or if I'm, that can send me to red, because red is danger zone.
Yeah.
And red is, okay, if you talk to me again, I'm going to scream.
Yeah.
And we've all been there. We've all
Yeah.
had our red moments.
Yeah.
A large part, can I just be honest? It seems like a large part of life with young kids, you're in yellow.
Yeah.
And you
Yes.
can just kind of
Always.
go either way there, depending on how the day goes.
Yes. Yes.
But getting back to cycle wise, I feel
Yeah.
like that, as a provider, I've got to be able to protect my wife
Mm-hmm.
from turning red. Okay. So
Yes.
realizing I might need to be that first barrier for the kids
Right.
whenever they're acting all crazy, and let
Right.
mama have some time to do what she does. Give her some time for herself, and realize that she
Mm-hmm.
is, she's not going to be able to, okay, stand up and make Thanksgiving dinner for 50 people. Something I've never considered. Like, where are you in your cycle? Because I feel like you're having a harder time. What's up with you?
Yeah.
It could just
Yeah.
simply be something like that.
Yeah.
Really eye opening. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So after menstruation, we go into what's called follicular phase, which it really kind of talks about developing a follicle that will turn into an egg, which leads into ovulation. But during follicular phase, estradiol is going to increase as well as testosterone.
This is going to be funny.
Yeah.
A follicle that turns into a what?
An egg.
That's funny. Down here in Georgia, I say egg.
Oh, okay.
No. I think it's a
This
funny
is,
moment.
I'm a Midwest girl, so
Yeah,
hopefully
you're
I said
Midwest.
it.
Yeah, I want you to say it again. I laughed when you said it. Say it again.
Follicle that turns into an egg.
Love it. Okay,
Okay.
let's go with it.
So here we go. Leading into ovulation. So before ovulation, estradiol is increasing, testosterone is increasing. It naturally occurs to help develop that follicle into an egg to eventually be released for ovulation. This is more reproduction, more biology. But with that increasing estradiol, with that increasing testosterone, again, these are the keys that are going to start unlocking a lot. And what really starts to unlock is our brain. And we become more creative. We have more confidence. We start feeling stronger. When I'm at the gym, I don't know if you're on my Instagram every now and then, but when I'm at the gym, this is when I'm like lifting heavy. Like this is when I'm ready to go all out because I have testosterone in my favor. I have estradiol in my favor. I feel good. I can wake up early. I'm more social. I want to be out. I want to meet people. Because again, these little locks are all over our body. So they're in our brain, they're in our gut, they're in our heart, they're in our bones, they're in our muscles. And now we're unlocking all of these pathways. And so we are excited and we're ready to go out and we're more rational. We're a little bit able to handle our emotionals better. Our emotional regulation is better during this time. And this is really when depending on where you're at or how you work, this is really when you want to do your planning. If you are a content creator, batch your content. If you have to draft a lot of emails, do your drafting of your emails. You are going to have more energy, more stamina, and more stress resiliency during this time. This is a great time to do those play dates. This is a great time to cook that Thanksgiving meal because you're going to have those hormones working in favor to give you that energy, give you that stress resiliency, and give you kind of like that boost to motivation. It does increase dopamine and serotonin in our brain, which is really important for motivation, for confidence, for just our sense of self, the way that we perceive ourselves. Even our skin starts to look better during this time. So it's just fascinating that women just kind of start changing during this phase. So from a male perspective, I'm going to do 4 P's. The first one is protector. This one is partner. This is when y'all are going to do that budget planning that you've been avoiding for the past 6 months.
Yeah.
This is when you're going to plan that fun date night. This is also when she's more playful. So if y'all want to take up golfing, go karting, try rock climbing for the first time, do that cooking class, she is going to have more motivation, more excitement, more creativity to handle those tasks and be excited about them, not feel overwhelmed or feel like it's part of a to-do list. So this was really, I just want you to show up as her partner, as her equal, and just enjoy that. Remember play, remember dating your spouse when you guys were young and you'd get all dressed up and you'd wash the car and you'd take her to a fun, evening out. That is that's the best time to do it because she is going to receive that in such a different way during this month.
And that's like night and day different, right? You're coming out of the phase 1 and you're into phase 2. I'm like, how can I get me some follicular phase? Because that sounds great.
It's the best.
What hormones are those again?
Yeah, so menstrual phase, I would say, is more like your winter. Follicular phase is going to be like your spring, right? So everything's kind of growing and coming new, and you're kind of coming alive again.
That's cool. And so many things are affected. That's the thing that stands out to me the most is, like when we're thinking about hormones, we're thinking about how they affect every part of your life.
Yes.
And seeing that like just come alive. That's awesome. And I picked on you about the egg and the egg.
Yeah, it's
I just
okay.
had to play with you a little bit. Us
And no, I
Southern,
love it. It's all right. I love
you
that Southern accent. Bring it on.
that's right. You talk like me for the most part,
Okay.
but I love the different dictions
Yes.
all over the country.
Yeah.
And thinking about you mentioned testosterone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be
Yes.
facetious a minute.
Let's talk about that.
Women have testosterone. What?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah, let's talk about that because I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of misinformation about it. So when you get like your levels drawn, you're going to have different levels like estradiol, progesterone, testosterone, and they have to put them in what are called different units. So things like nanograms per milliliter, picograms per milliliter. So they have different units. If you were to normalize your levels into the same unit, women actually make testosterone more than estradiol, more than progesterone.
Interesting.
So it is very important for females. And I think a lot of times testosterone is also equated with libido. That testosterone only has to do with sex drive. And for a female, it has so much that is a key that unlocks so much more.
Yeah.
So it is truly, it helps us build and preserve our muscles. It is very important for cognition. So just our mental clarity, being able to problem solve, working through different challenges in our brain. It is very important for that. And especially later in life, if we talk about like a longevity kind of standpoint, dementia prevention, it's very important for our bones, for osteoporosis prevention. Again, because we have these little locks all over our body. So this key testosterone is really important. And it also is really important for the way that women perceive themselves. So our sense of self, our sense of self-confidence, even our sense of like self-worth, the way we see ourselves as who we are, testosterone has a big play in that. So during perimenopause, when that starts to change or get decreases, that is why sometimes women start to almost, and I don't like using it, but where they start to hate themselves.
Yeah.
Like my body has changed. I feel so ugly. I don't like myself. They start losing that weird confidence that they used to have. And sometimes that is due in part to testosterone because we don't have it readily available like we used to give us that drive, to give us that motivation, that sense of self. So testosterone is such an important hormone in the female body. Just like estradiol, progesterone is also an important hormone in the male body. Men also produce that.
Right.
It is important. And it's not just about reproduction. This is full body, has to be all these levels, all these things have to be working functionally optimal. And, you do need those little locks to go into you need those keys to go into those little locks. And it's very important. So great. I'm so glad that you brought it up because I'm a pro testosterone kind of girl.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's another one of those misconceptions. And so we're just bringing clarity. You're bringing a lot of clarity to a lot of that. Now, how long can that glorious second phase last? Is that like a week too, or is that?
It's about maybe 7 to 10 days that you're going to probably feel your best, which leads into ovulation. So ovulation is really our shortest phase. And this is really just when we're releasing that egg that potentially could be fertilized and implanted. So ovulation is roughly day 14, so halfway through the cycle. And that is really, it actually kind of occurs right after the peak of estradiol and testosterone. So those tend to peak, and then about a day or two later, then you'll release the egg for ovulation or during ovulation. So that's really more like a 3 to 5 day window. It kind of bleeds a little bit into follicular phase. And really that's going to be probably when you might feel your best, quote unquote, feel your best, because you just feel more stress resilience. Again, you have earlier mornings, later nights, you're more social. And I think, unfortunately, sometimes we also connect our productivity to our worth. And because you feel more productive during that time, then you feel better about it because you're getting things done. During ovulation, because of the way that God has designed us, which is beautifully and wonderfully made, like always, women do tend to pursue or desire sex the most during that phase. Again,
makes sense.
The biology, because we are the generation carriers, we would want to be most active when we're releasing an egg that could potentially get fertilized to turn into a baby. And so for that phase, women do tend to feel sexier, or they want to be desired, and they maybe notice their husband a little bit more when he gets his haircut or when he's washing the dishes or when he's mowing the lawn. Like you kind of change your view. Like in college, they talked about beer goggles where like a woman would get better if you drank more. Like we get like these ovulation goggles where like the men starts to look a little bit better. And again,
so men start flexing around this period. She's going to notice you more.
Pop off that shirt when you're mowing, whatever you need to do. But this time your P word for men is pursuer. We want to be desired. We want to be taken. I mean, again, each woman's different. They experience these phases differently, but in general, women are probably going to be desiring intimacy more during this phase. And this is a great time for men to be a little bit more of that pursuer. Things like chore play is what I call them, like doing the dishes, doing the laundry, taking things off of her to-do list so you can come onto her to-do list. And I think that's really important from a male and female beautiful relationship, that you are taking care of each other and you're meeting each other's needs. But sometimes the needs aren't always in the bedroom. Sometimes the needs are on the to-do list. Yeah. And I need to be able to close the tabs in my brain because I have 30,000 of them open with all the things I'm supposed to get done. And it helps when you can step in, pursue me, and still be my partner, but like pursue me in that way that you are going to make sure that I'm well taken care of.
And that's really important. One of the things I've learned in being married for 15 years now.
Yay, congrats.
Thank you. Is helping with that chore play. I'm going to use that. With that to-do list, because number one, I mean, there's nothing that I think says, for someone who is a love language of service and that kind of thing, nothing says I love you more than like getting there, helping me, showing me that you're part of the team. I think that's just part of your job as a husband. You're on the same team. Help out. And honestly, don't even see it as helping out. Just kind of see it as like, we got to do this together. Right. Sometimes that's a pet peeve of mine. Sometimes like, I'm going to babysit the kids. I'm like, no, you're not. Those are your kids. You're not babysitting. Anyway, side note. But realizing that, she can't relax, she can't find peace. She can't be her best self if she's got these 30,000 tabs open in her brain. The more you can help close those tabs, the more you can help close some of those to-do lists, check those off, make that one less thing she has to worry about. Yes. The more you're going to be in tune to one another. Yeah, for sure. And I have people who, as a pastor, I mean, you get some weird questions. And some people, they talk to me about like, hey, my wife never wants to have sex. I'm like, well, what's on her mind? That's one of the first things that we tend to talk about is, how can you help her get some of those things off her mind? Because if she's overwhelmed with things to do, you're not going to get on that to-do list. And so exactly, it's part of it. I love how you mentioned that. And so being a pursuer and creating that space for intimacy, I think is super important. And I like how you said that's kind of the peak. It's kind of the peak for the woman. And so you're really feeling your best at this period. And sometimes though, this brings up, I like to bring in greater truths. This is one of them. I think you hit on it. You hit the nail on the head. A lot of times we see our worth is tied up with our productivity. And so, it's tempting for us to be like, man, look how much I can get done right now. Yeah. Right. Look how much, look how good I am at this. Yes. And then we're going to come up on some cycles that aren't as friendly to that. Right. And realizing that you're worth just as much in every cycle of this. Yeah. Just because you're less productive, that doesn't make you less of a person. No. That doesn't make you less worthy. And that doesn't make you less important. And that doesn't make you less loved. Exactly. And so doing work around some of those deeper truths is what Tiffany is doing too. So I love how you brought that in. Yeah. What I meant to say, ovulation is kind of like your summer. So this is going to be like your summer phase. Yep. And that's kind of, so those were like the 3 seasons so far. And then like the next season is called luteal phase. And this is really your longest phase. Right after estrogen or estradiol and testosterone peak, there is a slump. So they rapidly decrease over the course of maybe 2 or 3 days. So women will sometimes feel that, where they feel like a minor low energy, a little bit like more maybe harder to regulate your mood, like more snappy, a little bit more rage. And so a lot of women kind of notice that dip. And then this is before progesterone is going to be the superstar of luteal phase. And we want progesterone to show up because she is our girl of calm, cool, and collected. She keeps us relaxed. And progesterone makes this beautiful, what's called a metabolite, which is just kind of like a broken down product that's still active, and it binds to GABA in our brain. And GABA is our
receptor, or like our so if it's a lock and key, it's kind of the lock that unlocks calm, relaxation, more chill out vibes, I guess is the best way to describe it. But that takes a few days. So progesterone peaks at roughly day 21. So if you're looking at ovulation at day 14 to day 21, that's 7 days where you've kind of lost rapidly your estradiol and your testosterone. You haven't quite built up your peak progesterone. And so women, it's a quick transition. And all of a sudden they're like, I was super productive and sexy and confident, and I was fun, and now I'm not fun anymore. And it's tough because, like we had just said, we sometimes put our value and our worth in our productivity. But this was God's design for us to slow down because we potentially might be pregnant. And we have this new little life that we absolutely need to conserve energy for, conserve our nutrition for, that we need to protect and make sure that it is ready to grow. So it is our intentional slow down.
Wow.
You can't maintain at this speed. You're going to burn out. And we really need to honor it as women, but it's tough because we live in a culture of hustle, of push, of productivity, of staying up late, of getting up early. And it really wasn't until I started learning this as part of my superpower that this is where I get to set boundaries. I get to use no as a complete statement. And this is really when I need to use my partner, my spouse, and that women and spouses. This is a great time to be like, you know what? I need to not fill up my schedule because I'm not going to show up my best, because you are going to feel more tired. You're not going to want to go out. That motivation, some of that serotonin and dopamine we had that wanted us to go out and be party and social, that's all gone. It wants us to stay home. It increases our hunger cues. All of a sudden, we're hungry all the time. Shocking, because we need enough resources around to potentially support this new life. It is just part of that design. And so understanding how to eat healthier food, like understanding how to eat to nourish your body and not punish it and starve it for 2 weeks long. If you are hungry, we need to eat. It's your body. It is a cue that your body is sending you, but we've come so disconnected that sometimes we push the hunger cues away. And so recognizing this is a time of slow, this is our fall into winter. So if you think about that, it's when things are kind of like dying off, and this is when we're kind of closing things out. And this is really when we need to look at our schedule and really protect our peace. And so this part is the provider. So as the leader in the family, as the husband, I really need you to be able to provide emotional regulation, because it's harder for me to do that. I need you to provide maybe a couple of meals because I don't have the energy or the stamina to do that. I need you to be able to provide maybe a play date for the kids so I can have more time to rest. It is really about you stepping in and taking over some of those heavier tasks so we can have more of that inward quiet time to ourselves during this time, because otherwise it can lead to burnout, or you see the rage, or you're snapping at the people you love. If you're not, progesterone should help you sleep well, but if progesterone isn't showing up, if you have too much stress and too much on your plate, progesterone will peace out. She'll just say, it's not time for me to show up yet. I'm done here. You're on your own. And then you're not going to sleep very well. And then it starts that cycle, right? So now you don't have the energy and you don't have the mental clarity and the brain fog. So all of that kind of starts to escalate. So it really is important that women recognize it and honor it, but that your partner recognizes and honors that too, to help you out. And this is where that communication is key, to explain, like, that girl from last week is gone. It's a new word. It's a new person now. Yeah. And what are you going to do to lovingly support each other through that phase?
I think of this as the cozy sweater weather.
Yes. That's exactly what it is.
You calm down, you know, everything's cozy. And I love how intricate the human body is and how perfectly God made it. I got goosebumps when you were talking about how, like, it's kind of God's way of making you slow down because you may have new life to support. And God builds those rhythms into our bodies. And when we ignore those rhythms, we're ignoring the way we were made. We're living in a way that's contrary to how we were made. We're fighting against our body.
Right.
Instead of working with it.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful analogy that was. And thinking about, as men, you know, how can we step into this? All right. It's time to put on your big boy pants.
Yeah.
And it's time to take the lead.
Yeah.
Protect your lady.
Yeah.
Come alongside of your wife. And it's teamwork, guys.
It is.
I talk to so many, and again, we could get on some rants, but I talk to so many guys, and not that I've got it all together and I'm the perfect guy. Just ask my wife. She point out 100 flaws in a minute. But there are a lot of guys who just like tune out
Mhm.
and they're going to go do their things,
Yeah.
and they just expect the wife to just kind of take care of everything. And that's not how you do marriage. It's just not.
Yes.
It's teamwork. It's
Yes.
together, especially if
Yes.
you've got kids, and being
Yes.
able to point out times where it's most important,
Mhm.
I think is really, really key.
Yeah.
So, Tiffany, that was a great way to think about this. Now, let me ask you this: how can a woman know what phase she's in, other than just like symptoms, other than like ways that she feels and different things? Can you give them some little hints and some little clues as to how to tell which phase they're in, so that
Yeah.
they can then be proactive in recruiting that help when they need it,
Yeah.
or balancing that checkbook, or going through a budget or whatever at the right time?
Yeah. So, to be quite honest, it's as simple as just tracking. So, day
Okay.
one of your period is going to be day one of cycle. There are about 1,000 apps on your phone that you can download if you want a downloadable app to help you track. There are wearables, so an Oura ring, even a lot of the Apple or like some of the watches can help you track your cycle. Now, it might not always tell you, hey, girl, you're in follicular phase, but it'll let you know what day of cycle you are in. Simple like calendar tracking can start. That is a great way to start if your cycles are fairly regular.
Okay.
Now, I've met a lot of women that have had hysterectomies, or they've had an ablation. They're no longer bleeding. And so it's harder for them to track. Now, some women will still feel maybe ovulation pain physically as that egg is releasing from the ovary. It sometimes feels almost like a slight menstrual cramp or some pain, usually one side over the other. And some women still feel that. So that would maybe be a good indicator you're in ovulation, and you can even start counting from there. Also, for some women, they can kind of tell when they're almost in a menstrual phase, even if they're not menstruating, because their energy is low, their mental clarity is low. They are super moody and snappy. Like they are in kind of a tough part of time where they know they're not emotionally regulating very well. Their stress resiliency is down. Everything feels really overwhelming. They're more emotional. That would also maybe be an indicator if you wanted to start tracking from there. For my women that are fully menopausal, if they still want to include these natural rhythms and the way that our body was designed, I always say to start. Again, I actually say this a lot, but I always say men are like the sun, women are like the moon, because we kind of go through like a 28-day phase like the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So you could start like day one of the new moon is day one of cycle if you want to just kind of start getting into a rhythm.
Okay.
Men, I say, are like the sun, because really you produce cortisol and testosterone peak it in the morning, but you are on more of a 24-hour rhythm. So you're going to do that day after day very consistently. But as we just talked about, women, we are showing different hormones. Really, it's changing each and every day.
Yeah.
So some days it's more testosterone, some days it's more progesterone. And that all goes over roughly 28 days, a 28-day phase. And so that's why I kind of say we're almost like the moon. So we're a little bit more rhythmic than our men that are more like, 24-hour, like circadian type clock. So it would be a great way to start gauging for your cycle, just really to kind of start tracking. Eventually you'll start noticing patterns. But again, it's about bringing that awareness. So if you were never really taught to track, or if you were only concerned about menstrual phase and you didn't realize there were all these other beautiful phases that you can enjoy, it is really about bringing that awareness, and you'll start picking up on those patterns.
Yeah, I love that. I think for a lot of people, I'm not a woman, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of people, men, all right, we think they're either menstruating or they're not.
Yeah, right.
They're just on or off.
Yeah.
But you bring to mind the pattern and the beauty to all of that. And I think it's super helpful. And like learning those patterns and embracing those patterns can become your superpower. I love how that fits together. Now, let's talk a little bit about when those hormones get kind of, and we use a Southern term, wonky. When they get off track, when your levels come back and they're not right. Hormone replacement therapy, that kind of is a hot topic sometimes. For men, a lot of times we can, we're maybe low on testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
Happens as we age. A lot of signs and symptoms of that are, brain fog, gaining a lot of adipose tissue, different things like that, energy levels. Mm-hmm. And we can get tested. And if we're low, have a conversation with primary care provider. They start us on therapy. The end. That's generally accepted. Yeah. However, for whatever reason, we live in a world where it's a lot more complicated than that for women, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's start over. How should women think about hormone replacement therapy? What are some common myths that you come up against in your work? Mm-hmm. And then what's kind of your general overall advice for women when they're going through some of these changes?
Sure. So perimenopause really is kind of the start of those wild hormone fluctuations. So as estradiol fluctuates more, so during that follicular phase, there's more fluctuation. Sometimes it doesn't show up. Sometimes we don't ovulate, which also means then progesterone isn't going to show up in that luteal phase. So they actually kind of are a yin and yang together. They kind of like help balance each other out, estradiol and progesterone. And then testosterone obviously is needed for a lot of our other processes. Perimenopause can start as early as 35. So you're never too young to be in perimenopause. And it can last anywhere from 2 to 10 years. So it is a long road of consistent symptoms. Well before hot flashes and night sweats, usually it is those cycle changes. So it is really important that you're tracking your cycle, because all of a sudden you were a 28-day girl and now you're a 26-day girl. And now it's a 21-day, and then you skipped a cycle. Like, those are some of the signs that you are entering into perimenopause well before you even have a hot flash or a night sweat. Mental clarity changes, energy changes, sleep changes. Those are all tied to those changing hormones. As one of the therapy options, there is hormone replacement therapy. I'm a huge proponent of what I like to call bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, where if you're low in estradiol, we are going to get you an estradiol patch or a cream or a spray or a gel. When you aren't making as much progesterone, we're going to give you progesterone capsule. There is testosterone available for women, but it's compounded, which is a challenge because a lot of providers think if it is not FDA regulated, it is not safe. And when they hear hormone replacement therapy, they often think of what was the WHI study that was done at the end of the 90s, early 2000s, which has been debunked multiple times, but it's still in their head that somehow hormones cause cancer, which that has been removed and reversed. And so it is really important to start looking at your options. That's a big part of my platform, is education. So looking at what your options are. Now, a birth control pill is a synthetic hormone. Could you call that hormone replacement therapy? Kind of. Is it bioidentical? No. So that key is going to fit a lock very differently than just estradiol that's in your body. Is a progestin IUD hormone replacement therapy? Well, kind of, because you're getting a progestin, not progesterone. Again, those keys are going to fit in that lock a little differently, and you might have some downstream effects, which is why I'm just a bigger proponent of bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, because it is the molecular, like the chemical structure, the shape of that is exactly what your body was making, just isn't making as much as it used to. So it's going to fit into that lock the way it used to and help provide some of those, like, to alleviate symptoms. And I also like it from a longevity standpoint. So women that are on hormones postmenopausal tend to have lower rates of osteoporosis, cardiovascular disease, and even dementia. Again, it's not for everyone. Maybe not everyone qualifies, but it is at least a conversation starter with your provider. And if your provider is not open to that conversation, then you need to find one that is. Because we need a team. You don't always have to stick to one person, and you are your own CEO of your health. You are your advocate. If you know that something is happening and you want to know what your options are that feel most aligned for you with your values and your beliefs, and your provider is not willing to have that conversation with you, then it's time to find a provider who is.
I can't stress that enough. And this applies across the board for me, but no one is going to advocate for your health like you. No one is going to have your best interest at heart more than you. And, I have a great relationship with several providers, physicians, nurse practitioners, that kind of thing. And as great as they may be, they're trained a certain way. And if they're not trained the way that your values line up, then it's okay to say, I don't agree with them. You can still like them and see someone else. But so many people, and I think things are changing. I'm hoping things are changing these days. But we're getting out of this mindset of the doctor's the expert. I go in, I do what they say. I don't have a say in this. You very much have a say in your health. And that's, I want to advocate for that as well. Women, men, whoever you are, whatever you're dealing with, you have a say in your health.
And you know your body the best. So if something feels off, if something feels not right, just like my original story, I knew something was wrong. If they're dismissing you or trying to help you it as if this is just part of aging. This is just the way it is. Oh, you're a mom. Of course you're supposed to be exhausted. Like whatever excuse they're giving to you, you don't have to stand for that because you know your body the best.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important not to get like too much on the tangent, but we really have to be careful the lies that the enemy wants to use for ourselves as well. Because I think that we can start lying to ourselves and convincing ourselves of things
Yeah.
that we're not valued enough, or we're maybe not worthy enough, or, oh, this is just the way it is. I should just accept my body as feeling terrible every day. We do not, like, women, I think, are really good about convincing ourselves that it is okay to feel this way, and it is not. You deserve to feel your best each and every day. You deserve to have a body that is healthy and strong. And if you're a believer, you really are like you are holding the Holy Spirit in you. I believe that you are, your health is part of your discipleship. And I really think that it's hard when we have convinced ourselves for so many years, the lies that we tell ourselves, that it is okay to feel like trash, that it is okay to not have good sleep. It is okay to be exhausted 24/7. It is okay to be falling asleep at the wheel. It is not okay. I really want women to start recognizing that and taking a stand for their health, to say no more and set that boundary and start pursuing what does that look like? Who can I contact? Who can I reach out to? And really make sure you have those tools and resources so you can start feeling better, and you should feel your best each and every day.
Yeah. Options. You got to know your options.
Yes.
And if your provider's not giving you all the options, then I think maybe it's time to take a deeper look. And realizing what's available to you. We live in a world with so much out there that can help you become the person that you were created to be. So many times we settle for less than that. And I think it's what you're trying to get at here is we settle for less than we were created than the life we were created for, because a lot of times because of the lies we tell ourselves.
Yes.
And so realizing you have the right to feel good.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
realize what options are available to help you. You mentioned something I think is a good transition. It matters how we treat our body.
Yeah.
Our bodies are a temple of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And man, that'll change things if you
Yes.
really let your mind get a hold of that and let your heart get a hold of that and realize it matters how we treat our body.
Yeah.
What we put into our body. It matters, and that matters on a lot of different issues. And how we provide for it.
Mm-hmm.
That brings to mind some things that are maybe beyond the pills that maybe pharmacists typically talk about.
Yeah.
But you and I are really big on lifestyle.
Yes.
A healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
Things like a healthy diet.
Mm-hmm.
Things like healthy exercise. Things like movement.
Yeah.
How do those play into a woman feeling her best, and it maybe even cycle related?
Yeah.
And then what are some ways that I think couples sometimes think of these health journeys as separate? So I'm on my own personal health journey. My men's health is my business and not yours.
Right.
Your health is women's health, and that's your thing. And what are some ways we can get past that?
Yeah.
And as couples, really change things together.
For sure. Definitely. Well, kind of like what we've talked about this whole time, the open communication, talking about kind of what's going on, where we're at, how we're feeling. I do like to use cycle syncing when it comes to nutrition, because there just are really great ways to simply think about the foods that we're eating. So during winter, during that menstruation, think about winter foods. So we're heartier stews, things that have more red meat. That iron is really important. Things that are rich in magnesium, those green leafy vegetables, you can have a little dark chocolate, but things that are rich in magnesium and zinc. Thinking about our electrolytes, right? We're depleting our electrolytes as we're bleeding because we're losing more than just blood. We're also losing a lot of fluid. So recognizing that phase and then just kind of nourishing our body to that. That's also because we are a little bit low energy. Our hormones aren't really working in our favor. This is where I really love, and I love when couples all the time can go on walks together. But walking will really help those menstrual cramps more than just like a heating pad and some Midol. You may not want to go for a walk, but even like a 10-minute walk can really help alleviate that. And I love it when my couples can get together, even for 10 minutes a day, phones aside, and physically remove yourself from the chaos. Because I agree, I have 2 little ones at home and there's a lot of chaos in the house.
Yep.
So you're physically removing yourself from that chaos and you're going on a 10-minute walk to check in, to communicate. And even if you don't even want to talk, you just want to be in each other's presence, to show up and support and love each other. A 10-minute walk can just do wonders, I feel like, for any marriage.
Yeah.
Definitely during that time. It's a great way for you to reconnect. And Again, it's going to help alleviate some of those symptoms, give you a little more mental clarity. It's, just the power of exercise and walking is just so important. Follicular phase, our spring, think of those spring foods. So fresh veggies, fresh fruits, lean meats, your chicken, your fish, make some kebabs, have fun with it. Maybe we get the kids involved and they're cutting up the vegetables and, husband's lighting up the grill and he's going to grill up some chicken kebabs or, incorporate it into the family because that's also going to build that bond and that strength. But you can talk about it too. And I love talking to my kids about the foods that we're eating. Like, this is going to provide this sort of nutrient, or like, this is our protein. This is how we build our strong muscles, or, these are healthy fats, like our avocados. This helps us build hormones, because hormones are really, truly the backbone structure. It's a fat structure. You need healthy fats to make healthy hormones. So talking about that with the family, incorporating, again, it just pulls that bond a little bit closer when you can incorporate the family into that. Summer ovulatory, again, summer fresh fruits and veggies, very similar to follicular phase. And then fall time, that luteal phase, because women are going to be more hungry, it's really important to have easy snacks on hand. So husband, even if you can prep some veggies, prep some fruits that are easy to eat. This is also a time where we really need complex carbohydrates, because progesterone is a huge molecule. She needs carbohydrates to be made, basically. And healthy fats. So like things like sweet potatoes. And again, it's fall. So root vegetables, sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, maybe not potato chips. But some of those extra quinoa, some of those extra heartier, complex carbohydrates.
I can see it now.
Yeah.
Like, vegging out, eating a bag of Doritos. Tiffany said to eat carbs.
Tiffany said I could. No, not those. But that's a great time. And then also post-ovulation, while you're in your luteal phase, really, really important, fiber, cruciferous vegetables.
Yeah.
So our body, once all the estradiol we've made a ton of estradiol, it's in our body, we need to break that down and excrete it. And we excrete it through our bowel movements. I have met so many women that where it is a point of pride that they're only having a bowel movement maybe once or twice a week. And girlfriend, you need to have it at least daily, because that estradiol, once it's broken down, it's what I call ugly estradiol. Will it still be a key into that lock? It will, but it's not beautiful estradiol that we want. And so it hits that lock a little bit differently. And this is when we start noticing heavier periods. This is when we start noticing tender breasts. This is when we start noticing a lot more mood issues, like a lot more rage and moodiness, because we're not eliminating that estradiol. So please include some cruciferous vegetables. Make sure fiber is a part of your diet really all month long, but definitely during that luteal phase after ovulation, you will notice better periods later in the month if you can start incorporating that. And again, with the men, like, help out with the grocery list, or like, again, use the grill, use the flat iron, like, grill, cook up some steaks. Like, let's like have fun with it.
Yeah, who doesn't like that?
Yeah, who doesn't want to have a good steak? So enjoying that. And again, during follicular phase, you're a little bit more energy. If you are a weightlifter, like, why not go to the gym together?
Yeah.
The two of you, right? Like, why not enjoy that time together? Again, walking is always important. During that fall luteal phase, that's going to be less intensity. We want to dial that back. Again, maybe some stretching, maybe some more walks. You can still weight lift, but you would probably want to dial back the intensity. So you're maybe going to do lesser weight, more rep. Again, but you can still go to the gym together. You can still support each other. And I think when I really feel like couples that kind of work out together and support each other in the health journey, they really stay together, because now you're invested in them.
Yeah.
Not just in your own health, but I'm invested in my husband's health because I want him around when I'm 80 years old. And the statistics kind of show that women are outliving their male counterparts. And so why would I not want to invest in his health now to make sure that he's around for me when I'm 80?
Yeah.
And he can put my bag in my overhead bin when we're traveling, or whatever it is we want to do when we're 80.
Right. Or he can be in the floor playing with the grandkids and all the things that go along with that.
Yes, all the things you want to do when you're older, and to do it as a couple, but it starts now.
It does. Yep. It
doesn't start at 75 or 78 when things are quieted down and, I'll wait till I retire. I'll wait till people are always waiting for this next thing.
Yeah.
You got to be intentional now, even if you only get 10 minutes out of the day for a quick walk.
Yeah.
Outside without the kids, like, really be intentional and really try and protect that.
And a couple of tips to add to that as well. Such good advice. But a couple of tips I wanted to kind of think about too is, I like habit stacking. I love it when we can knock out two birds with one stone, as we say. And so when we're thinking about walking, a little 10-minute walk, if you do a 10-minute walk after a big meal. That's going to lower your glucose spikes. That's going to reduce the insulin that is produced. And then insulin is a fat storage hormone. And so you're kind of knocking out two things, with just a 10-minute walk. Hold hands. I mean,
Yes.
that sounds silly, but like hold hands, connect with your spouse.
Yeah.
A lot of guys are kind of silly about that, but hey, that's connecting. There is something, man, I'm sure that there's science to explain it, but there's something magical about touching another human being and connecting that way.
Will say during luteal phase, when progesterone is supposed to peak, she is very sensitive to stress. So cortisol spikes, so like increased cortisol, increased stress. One way to combat that is oxytocin. So progesterone and oxytocin are very tightly linked. Oxytocin really is our touch, our cuddle. So it may not lead to intimacy, but guys, it's really important to cuddle with your wives during luteal phase. Don't think, oh, she's moody, oh, she's quiet, oh, she doesn't, she wants distance. Like, we never really, sometimes they need space for sure. We sometimes ask for space because we're so overwhelmed. But when you abandon us and just go to the garage for 8 hours and I don't see you, like that is really hard on us too, because we are in a phase, truly biology says I might be pregnant. I need to protect this thing. Please don't abandon me, right? Like, because now we're thinking about our relationships and who's going to be there if I have this child. And it's weird. It's just weird mental tricks we do, but truly like that is a great time. Like you said, hold the hands, have the cuddle, sit on the couch together and actually put your arm around her while you're watching a movie like you used to. Like do those small touches because truly it does help physiologically increase our oxytocin. It helps provide more calm and support. And then we're able to show up better knowing that we are like loved and supported from those actions.
I love that. That's a good tag team. I'm sure the science is out there. You're like, I got it.
It's right here.
I love that. And then another thing I want to say is involve the kids. Like we've got kids. Ours are 4, 7, and 9. And we're in the thick of it. It is.
Yes, you are.
But one of the things I found is that I've got 2 boys, and especially my middle kid. He's my oldest son. He loves to work out. He's 7 years old. Like he can't really work out, but he loves to pretend like he's working out with daddy.
Oh, I love
and
that.
My younger son will do anything that my older son does. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take the kids in the garage. We're going to work out together. Mama, you can just do what you want to do with my daughter, and y'all can have a girl time. Go on walks as a family.
Yeah.
That makes it fun. Go on a little scavenger hunt or like go on a walk trying to find things, that makes it fun for them. But a lot of times, at least this was the case early in my parenthood journey. And granted, when they're real young, you're not just going to leave them, but take them with you, wear them on your, but I used to think that I couldn't work out or I couldn't do this because I have kids.
Right.
And real or that we can't do it together, but finding ways to implement them in your journey is going to make this sustainable because hey, guess what? Your kids aren't going away. We don't want them to anyway.
Yeah.
You got to find a way to implement that.
Yeah.
And always putting it off until they get older. Okay, well now you're going to be 50 and obese and now you've got other problems.
Yeah.
And so being able to incorporate that is a big part of it for me anyway.
Yeah. And the legacy, that's always think about like the legacy I'm leaving for my kids is a legacy of health and wellness. It is not uncommon for kids to wake up in the morning and be like, where's mom or where's dad? Like, oh, they're at the gym. Granted, we have to kind of tag team it right now because I have a 9 and 7-year-old myself. I don't have the 4, but I have similar age. But like that is such a common occurrence. It's like part of their normalcy in the house that, we exercise and then recognizing that mom isn't always going to be on call 24/7. Dad isn't always going to be on call 24/7 because we are investing in ourselves, in our health, in our wellness. And then honestly, you will show up so much better as a mom, as a dad. Your presence will be felt so much more when you are taking that time for yourself and when you are nurturing and loving your body the way it's supposed to be.
That whole emotional regulation thing.
Yes.
It can become an outlet that is necessary for us at times. And then thinking about too, like realizing that I need to make space for my spouse to do these things. And my spouse needs, a lot of guys are bad about, like you said, go to the garage and disappear for 8 hours. And, when she leave her to 3 kids. And then when is she going to do things?
Yeah.
And doing things together is great. But if you can't do it together, at least make time for each other.
Right.
I think that's important as well. And then thinking about, the whole issue of working out, the whole issue of what you're normalizing in your house. Is going to be what your kids normalize for themselves.
Yes.
So let them see taking care of you as normal so that they
Yes.
can then grow up to take care of them,
Yeah.
because that's what mom and dad did. Super
Yeah.
important. We're always
Yeah.
teaching them how to act, and we can go either way with that. And so what we
Right.
normalize
For sure.
is important. Tiffany, tell us, as we kind of close here, tell us
Yeah.
about your business.
Yeah.
Tell us about what you do with that, and then how our listeners can find out more about what you're doing through your business.
Sure. So, my company is Better Health and Hormone Balance. I work with women one-on-one through my signature program called Chaos to Control, because we're taking a very chaotic phase, and I'm giving you back control. So you have the tools and resources to help, just really to help your body. So I use holistic measures. As a pharmacist, I'm not able to prescribe HRT. However, if you are on hormone replacement therapy, this works beautifully with that as well. Because this is setting a foundation for health and wellness, not only now through perimenopause, but for years to come. It's a great way for women to reconnect with their bodies, to learn how to nurture their body, learn how to support and love their body, as well as then obviously, like, most spouses start getting on board and they start getting curious. And so it's a great way for it to become a family involvement, because I do believe sometimes women are a little bit of the pace setter of the house. So if the female is eating a little bit healthier, the kids probably are going to be eating a little bit healthier too.
Yep.
And even dad is included in that sometimes. If mom's going to start taking more walks and breaks and working out a little bit more, usually the kids are going to be either joining along, or dad's going to recognize that as well. So it's a really great way to really kind of set the tone for the family of what health and wellness looks like for you, and what it really means to kind of help essentially heal your body. I do believe that God has given us these beautiful bodies that we need to honor, love, and support, and using more holistic measures to do that, and not just going straight pill for the ill, quick fix, band-aid fix. As a pharmacist, I understand the need and the use of medication. It's crazy. It's like I'm a pharmacist, but I almost hate medications at the same time, because I think there's a lot more that we can do, and it's sustainable. It's about changing those little habits that are going to set that pace for the rest, for longevity, and set a legacy for your kids. I'm most active on Instagram. You can find me as the Optimize Her Pharmacist, which if I had my marketing director, she would have told me not to use that name, but it's too late now. So it's OPTIMIZE, Optimize Her, HER, Pharmacist, PHARMAIST, if I spelled that correctly. I also have a private Facebook group, Optimize Her Facebook group, which is a great community of women going through perimenopause and menopause. One thing I think that we feel very isolated, that we think we're the only ones, that this is happening to just me. No. I have a huge community of private group on Facebook. So if you're interested in that, please join my Facebook group. I give a lot of resources, value, and information that I don't always post on my other social media handles. But if you want to get in contact with me, DM me, send me a message. Active on Instagram as well as Facebook. Facebook is just Tiffany Ruder, but it is just me. So I'm not at the point yet where I have like an assistant or anyone answering my messages. It really is me. So if you have a question, if you have a comment, if there's something that you're looking for, more information or a resource, I'm happy to point you in that right direction. And really, I love connecting with people. I love hearing women and their stories, because I think for so long they haven't been heard. They've maybe been dismissed. And I really want to create that safe space that you will be heard and held, for sure.
You're doing important work, and I really appreciate you being here. What a treat this has been.
Yes, it was fun.
You're speaking my language. I always say if I could work myself out of a job as a pharmacist, I'd be happy, because that means we'd be healthy.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a place for it. But too many times we use that as a Band-Aid approach. There are many changes we can make that don't involve that. So you're leading the charge, in my opinion, in women's health and all things hormonal. I didn't understand quite to the degree that I do now exactly what goes on in a woman's body, the degree that hormones affect things. And we've talked about everything from menstrual cycle to bowel movements and everything in between. So this has been kind of a catch-all podcast. We have covered it all today. But I think we've had something for everybody. But ladies, you have a little more clarity. You can put the words what's going on, and you can optimize your life. You can learn to thrive in your body, and I think that's important. And men, you've learned how to show up for the ladies in your life, how you can play an important role as a teammate to really grow together and to really make your lives as a couple the very best that they can be. And so, Tiffany, thank you for being here with us. This might be my longest episode. We may have to have a second one, because there's so many things I still want to talk about. But this has been tremendous. I think this is going to be really, really helpful for our listeners. Thanks for being here. God bless you and your family and your business.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.